Hello, my name is Jasmine Lee, and I am not your mama's astrologer. Welcome to the week. We start the week with a bada boom, bada bang. It is a full moon in Cancer. Mars is retrograde in Cancer right now, so that means two things are happening. One, the moon is close to Mars, or fighter energy, who is not happy about being in Cancer. And two, it's opposing the sun, because full moons always oppose the sun and new moons conjunct the sun. So because it's a full moon, it's opposing the sun. So our energy, our Capricorn energy, is also being challenged. It's why we get kind of squirrely on a full moon. It's why the energies can be really unpredictable. Oppositions can do that. And what I want to say about this is, there might feel inside of you a conflict, something that you can't figure out, something that feels frustrating, something that feels emasculating, something that takes or feels as though it's taking away your power. There's a lot of that vibe going on with Mars being close to the moon, which is also emotions, and Cancer being ruled by the moon and the emotions. It's, definitely fodder for some feelings of resistance. Like our Monday is gonna feel like a Monday on steroids, extra Monday vibes, extra case of the Mondays. And it really is an opportunity to highlight where you are indeed stuck, because we don't really know how to fix anything if we don't know what's broke or where it be broken. And these hard transits sometimes give us a little bit of perspective. We can see it out in the world a lot with, our government and our existence and everything just feeling a little salty. Like the ocean has washed us ashore and we are salty AF. Like there's just like salt in our butt cracks. It's very aggravating. And there's nothing we can do for it, and not a shower for miles. And how do we walk with the chafe? Oh God, this is like, we went way too deep into this reference. But seriously, like when something's irritating you or bugging you, especially when it's something that's not especially obvious, that just makes us grumpy. It can just put us in a foul mood. And I'll tell you, the astrology last week put me in a really bad mood. Like I just felt as though I couldn't get a strong hold on anything last week. And I finished the week out just in this horrible feeling of helplessness and tearful and vulnerable and feeling unseen in the world. And I received, just some reflection about myself and my talking habits and my energy and how I can come off to others. And it hit me in a soft part of myself. And however much that might not feel good, and however much I might not be able to really control a lot of the core foundational stuff that is me, I can sit with it because I don't really have a choice, and neither do you. The things that come up, when we resist it, when we find out something we don't like, or we're told something about ourselves that hurts, or we're faced up against a situation where we're not feeling comfortable, safe, seen, etc., then it's always a time to ask yourself if you can sit in it. And the crappy thing about this astrology is that we are being forced to sit with a lot of really uncomfortable energy. But something that I like, if I have to like something, because sometimes I don't always want to like it, but if I have to like it, what I will say about this full moon today, Monday, is that it kind of starts breaking up the ice, the parts that were stuck that we haven't been able to move, because emotion and emotionality moves things. And while Mars is not comfortable in Cancer, the moon is. And so the moon has something to teach Mars about our warrior spirits, that it's not always about violence, and it's not always about the fight, and it's not always about that. That it can also be about the surrender. It can also be about the art that we create in great times of strife and turmoil. And it can be about that great protector, that mother energy inside of us, that womb energy that the moon and Cancer so beautifully encapsulate, that we can become more protective. We can become more boundaried. We can become more precious to ourselves and start honoring and protecting our hearts maybe a little bit better, if only that Mars would listen. And now your Mars placement is really important, how much you're going to get this memo, because if your Mars is somewhere that really can't see this lesson, that really can't move with this lesson, then it's just going to be feeling like it's piling on tomorrow. You're going to feel really piled on. It's going to feel even more uncomfortable. You're not going to want to look at that solution, and you're just going to feel that feeling, that restriction, that balled up blah, the lack mentality. But if you're in a place, or your astrology is in a place where it can loosen a little bit, then it's that place where we find our courage. It's that place where our softer side can be our stronger side. It's the place where if we would just put our sword down, if we just wouldn't get our feelings hurt so easily, if we could just take the criticism, if we could just eat our veggies, if we could just take the walk, if we could just do the things that truly are going to nourish us, then how could that change? And so that is your homework. That is your cookie this week, my dear, dear, lovely people, is in great times of struggle and war and strife. I dare say there was even more art and love and creation to counterbalance it. So when there is a war going inside yourself, and there is no end in sight, and the tools aren't there, and you feel incredibly defeated, how can you make love and not war? How can you create art? How can you build something beautiful amidst whatever is dark inside of you? So instead of looking for the shadow, which I feel like I ask you to do all the time and in a lot of weeks, looking for those weak spots, looking for those dark sides, bringing them out, banging the pots and pans, like that is the opposite of the homework this week. Because this week, I want you to be soft. This week, I don't want you to wage war against yourself or find things that need to change, or, shake yourself down in a way that's going to break yourself down. What I want is for you to find the reprieve. I want you to find art and music and snuggles and love and family time and candlelight and blankets and going to bed early. That's what I want you to find this week, because there is so much at play astrologically that is long game. This is not short game astrology. This is big dick astrology, okay? He be coming in here swanging. So it's not like you need to be conquering the universe every day when there's something that is so powerfully going to move us, because it is. The nodes shifted last week. I think I told you about that, from Aries, Libra to Pisces, Virgo. That's a big shift, That's like going from talk about warrior energy to deep, wise, old owl knowing energy. That we're going to start getting these like beautiful, intuitive hits that while we may not have the answer or know the answer, we're going to start feeling the answer. And we're going to have to let go of some preconditioning and some predetermined, ways in which we thought our life was going to turn out. We're going to have to let go of perfectionism and rigidity and the need for it to be a certain way, because Virgo wants that. And that's what we're letting go over the next 18 months. But Pisces wants us to trust what we can't see, wants us to listen to our gut, wants us to listen to that nagging voice on our shoulder telling us no, or telling us, yeah, do that. And so the softer we can be this week, the more we can start attuning to our own selves and shutting out the chatter and the noise and the ways in which we can't make progress. And we start bringing in our dream space, our soul space, our desires, our art, the way in which we connect that is unseen, the quicker we're going to get to the cookie in June, which we will be blessed in all of the places that is being, blasted right now in our lives and in our chart is going to get a blessing towards the end, like in the summertime. And so we can't look forward to that though if we aren't trusting and we aren't doing the work required to get to the cookie. But this week, I really don't want you to be working. I mean, working, obviously. That's what we all got to do. But working on self in a way that is like aggressive. January is such a hard time because we have these New Year's resolutions. We have these high expectations. We're starting a new chapter. We're starting a new planner. We're starting a new diary, whatever the fuck, right? We're starting these stupid ass rituals that we do to make ourselves fail. And so now we're like midway through that and it's starting to fail because if you don't really want to do it, and if the change isn't ripe or ready to do it, then we're gonna feel like we've let ourselves down. And this week could feel like that a little bit. It's the homework this week then is, where do you find nourishment? Where are you going to get your nourishment? Not just this week, but long game. Where do you refill? How do you refill? And what do you think it would take to sustainably refill that cup? Because it's not going to feel good this week. There's going to be a lot of, brushing up against our own identities of self and thought and energy levels. And if we aren't resting and we aren't hugging our babies and we aren't loving our people and we aren't making phone calls and shooting texts of gratitude to each other, it's really going to feel dark. Like I really sense that this week the weather will shift maybe, but inside will feel darker. And the contrast can sometimes get the better of you if we don't have tools of nourishment. So that's the homework. It's tools of nourishment this week. And then Tuesday, Venus squares Jupiter. That's really great. It's like the desire to do what I just said. It's the desire for art. It's the desire for something beautiful. Remember, Venus is in a very powerful position right now and she knows what to do. So if we lean into our comforts and we lean into our people and our love space, that is what always conquers the dark, the light. Always, the light is always the thing that comes in and conquers the dark, and then the dark overtakes. And that is the cycle of life, of human emotion, of birth, of death. It's all around us all the time. And sometimes we don't want to exist in that dark place. Maybe we've seen too much dark. Maybe we're tired, but the dark needs to be here. And we through taking care of ourselves and listening to ourselves and forgiving ourselves is the thing that we've been waiting for, to refill and refuel and find the tools that will then come in handy later. And then Friday, the sun sextiles Neptune, which is kind of dreamy. The weekend is kind of cool, because the sun sextiles Neptune, Venus is conjunct Saturn, which is a really good boundary. We're going to be able to, whatever happened this week, we will be able to develop and understand better where our boundaries lie and where our boundaries got blown and who blew them and how we rebuild from the huffing and puffing and the blowing of our house down, proverbially speaking. And I think that Venus, being empowered as she is to take on this lesson, will actually feel really good to be like, you know what? No, that didn't feel good. Or no, I'm not gonna clean the house today. I'm gonna rest because it was a doozy of a week. And Mercury is also sextiling Saturn. And so our thoughts and our lover inside of us, the love inside of us and the way that we process and think are making aspects to Saturn and asking us to rethink, reinvent our wheel, fill our wheels up, make sure that we're running more smoothly, give us the psychological oil change that we all need. And that's not always easy, to assert a boundary or to do what we say or to do what we need. But that's great weekend vibes because we have more choice. And then on Sunday, Mercury also then sextiles Venus. So Mercury and Venus are really here to help us. And I see that as perspective. That whatever happens during the week, we will be able to find the perspective this week, by the weekend. And on Sunday, then we move into Aquarius season. And I freaking love this for us because Capricorn season's hard work. We're doing a lot of work. We're recognizing the work. We're rolling our sleeves up. We're resolutioning all over the place. And we're trying to be the better version of ourselves. And Aquarius takes a step back and says, whatever, guys. Whatever. You don't have to be this. You don't have to be that. You don't have to like green eggs and ham, Sam I am. You can kindly decline the offers of whatever you ain't wanting. Because Aquarius really doesn't take stuff personal, nor does it ascribe itself to being any one way forever. Aquarius to me is lovely because it's very impermanent and energy. It rules AI, technology, astrology, communities, the bigger picture. We can kind of like take a step back from the microcosm that is, the life that is of our choosing, of our own life circumstances, and we're able to see it from a vantage point that we aren't typically able to see it through. It really cracks me up that Valentine's Day happens to be in Aquarius season because Aquarius is the most non-mushy, but Aquarius steps back and says, oh, there's money to be made here. So let's create the hearts and the balloons and the flowers and the female resentment and the expectations, and let's blow that shit up. And let's see where your relationship's really at. And I love that. Aquarius is the trickster that way because Aquarius is not attached to the outcome. Aquarius is just interested in solutions. They're interested in what if we tried it this way. They're non-traditionalist. They want the weird. They want to get kind of strange. They want to be wicked, and they like that about themselves. And that's pretty gangster to me. Someone who's very attached to what other people think, how other people feel, and the overall harmony of the world. I get very attached to that. But then I remember I have so many planets in my house of Aquarius, which then makes me feel isolated, like I don't fit in, like I'm the black sheep, like there's never going to be a community that I'll find that truly sees me. I struggle with that in my life a lot. And that's that Aquarian energy saying, you don't have to fit in. You don't have to be, whatever people ascribe to astrologers, which is like hippie shit, right? But you also don't have to ascribe to other ways of being either. You don't have to be one way or the other. You can be it all. And that's kind of my mission, guys. It's like my life mission statement is I don't ascribe to anything. I don't believe in anything. I just am curious about everything. Because at this point, the aliens could land and come hang out at my house and I'd be like, this makes sense for right now. Yeah. Or you could tell me everything in the Bible was true and I'd be like, huh, cool. How about that? Or you could tell me that there is no God and there's nothing left on the other side. And I would raise my eyebrow, but I'd be like, well, I guess I'd better start living more presently because we should anyway. That's what Aquarius season is all about. It's about the notion that maybe what you've been believing all along is the thing that is limiting you. And I want us to think about that because we're in a very limited time with Mars being retrograde. We have limitations. And I want us to start working with those limitations in a productive way, in a way that where we can let go of some of our attachments to what we don't have control over, because I think this is a really delicious nugget of what Aquarius can come in and teach us, is that when we can let go of our preconditioning, the way we were raised, the way that we fit into our family dynamics, our relationship dynamics, our love dynamics, our child dynamics, it's like wherever we have devoted ourselves and thus found incredible arcs of identity might also be the place where we're in fact incredibly stuck and old and in old ideations of who we thought we were when we were starting a journey of parenthood, a journey of sisterhood, a journey of husband and wife, a journey of whatever, fill in the blank, a new job, a new situation, a new state of being. I think that it is a really valuable thing always to recheck the things that you've always been sure about. List 5 things that you've always been sure about and then see, because listen, guys, someone told me that like with the little bobby pins, you know, the shorter side, that's supposed to go in the other way on the bottom and not on the top. And like, phew, mind blown, because guess what? I've always been told I'm supposed to be wearing my bobby pin a certain way. And then when I learned, oh, all these years, I just assumed because some bitch told me, probably my mom, whatever. Like, so that's how I always wore my bobby pins. But then to watch these videos that come out now, I feel like this has happened a lot over the last few years of things where how they're supposed to be being used is not how we use them at all. And I want us to transmute that into our day-to-day life and rituals. What is the thing that you have just believed in without second thought for most of your life? And how can you reevaluate that? It's auditing time. But instead of our finances and being terrified by the government, it's us. We're the problem. It's us. How can we look at what we've gotten comfortable with inside of our thought trains and tracks and see how we can start resetting the boundary and resetting those train tracks so that maybe we can start going in the very direction we've been wishing and praying to go into, but have been so stuck. So that's the caveat, right? We're stuck in this Mars energy, but we have the chance while we're stuck to realign, to resituate, to re-believe, or to start believing something new. And that could be the very thing that fixes everything in all this frustration. Woohoo! And I pulled the card, a change in the wind. If we are not willing to change, if we are not willing to move, if we are not willing to bend, if we are not willing to accept that maybe we're wrong about what we think we're absolutely right about, then we won't grow. Because always being right really doesn't add up to much, if I'm being honest with you. If you are in a fight with your spouse or your brother or your anybody, someone that matters a lot to you, and it is more important for you to be right than to fight for whatever the disconnect is between you and that person, then your beliefs just got in the way of your growth. And I want you to remember that too the next time you fight with someone. I also want you to remember that the next time you feel like your life isn't working out the way you thought it would. What are the long-held beliefs that need to be swept out? Where do you need to open that window and let it go? Frozen style. Elsa and all that jazz. Thank you so much for listening. Indeed, I do appreciate a comment to share what's relevant for you, how your week was last week. I always love to get a barometer for how all of this is going for everybody else. And of course, liking, subscribing, sharing is always so much appreciated. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Mwah.